swag of a prize fighter. The antithesis of a firefighter. Arsonist, I'm a fire rider. Instant flame like a firelighter. So special with shows, I live out my flows. Can't walk in my shoes, can't purchase my clothes. Ice in my veins, but I never froze. Picture perfect, but I never pose. As a juvenile, I knew I bounced back. Got rated, had a plan to get my ounce back. Use cheese as bait, that's a mousetrap. Let me to the right person to pounce at. They selling dreams, I'm pulling receipts. Full force, we can't be beat. Got a dirty mouth, but the flow so neat. Keep your 2 cents, talk is cheap.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is Gervonta Davis responds to comments made by Eddie Hearn. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a listen to the comments that were made by Eddie Hearn, and then we'll dive in and then we'll discuss all this in greater detail. So, all right, let's take a listen. Here are the comments that were made by Eddie Hearn.
Makes him as dangerous as he is he's not a deep thinker. You know, he's not an articulate young man. You know, he's a bad kid. Like, and I say that, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm talking about, this is a kid. He's a bad right? Just like Mike Tyson was, just like some of these other greats were, and that makes them very, very dangerous because they're fearless, and you can't get in his head. Makes him as dangerous as he is.
All right, so that's the comments that Eddie Hearn made about Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis responded, and we're going to take a look at Gervonta Davis' response right now. This is kind of for comedic purposes, if you will. All right, so this is what Gervonta Davis had to say. As you can see, Gervonta took down his tweet. But what Gervonta Davis said was, I'm articulate enough and a deep enough thinker not to sign with you. He said something along those lines to Eddie Hearn. That was his response, that he was articulate enough and a deep enough thinker not to sign with Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. But other people were upset with what was stated by Eddie Hearn, and here's what Leonard Ellaby had to say. Leonard Ellaby stated, at Eddie Hearn, you did mean that in a disrespectful way with your privileged racist A. Who the F you think you are saying he's not deep thinker or not articulate? That's the problem. MFers like you think you are more superior than others. We don't play that ish over here, you effing clown. That's what Leonard Ellaby had to say. Steven Espinoza of Showtime also got involved, and he wrote something on Twitter, and we're going to take a look at what Steven Espinoza had to say. Steven Espinoza stated, disgusting. Sometimes the veneer wears off and people say what they actually think. In this case, repeating despicable racist tropes of black fighters as unintelligent and unthinking. I think Gervonta and I know Mike and they're deep thinkers than the person who made this statement, referring to Eddie Hearn. So that's what Steven Espinoza had to say. So then a few days ago, Gervonta Davis posted what looks like tweets in an exchange that he had with Eddie Hearn. And we're going to take a look at those tweets right now. And in those tweets, we'll start from here. Gervonta Davis in the blue, as you can see, he says, why would you say that about me? Eddie Hearn said, what? And then Gervonta Davis said, what you mean? What? What you said. And then Eddie Hearn says in the interview, question mark. If you watch it, I was explaining why you are a dangerous fighter. I said, you're not a deep thinker. Ryan is, and that make you dangerous. That's what he wrote. And then Tank said, so they cut the clips. And then Eddie Hearn responded, they took a few words from a 5-minute conversation about the fight. That's what Eddie Hearn said. And lastly, I'm going to play a clip of Eddie Hearn discussing what he regrets about And this was from 3 days ago. So actually, let me just pull it up real quick. So this clip is from 3 days ago. And as you can see, let me show, actually 4 days ago. So this is what Eddie Hearn had to say.
This sport and this business has taught me a lot, and it's I've been through a lot, ups and downs and highs and lows, and I have matured. Like I look at myself, even some of the no context clips, like going back 5, 6, 7 years, and I always want to be that person. I don't want to change to the point where I've gone all corporate or I just don't have a laugh anymore. But boxing does that to you. How many times? And I'll be the first to admit, I've seen some interviews last year that I was disappointed in myself because and people have pointed it out to me on social media, but I see the bitterness of someone who I used to look at and go, oh, look at but it's boxing. And I don't blame Frank and I don't blame Bob. I blame the industry and the sport and the business. So I'm just trying to not let, I'm trying to enjoy the beauty of this sport, and trying to share the journey with the fighters, deliver for the fighters and that process, because you can't be so careful. Like, I'm sure you've been through it as well. Like, you just, I don't know. It's just, everyone's trying to bring you down. Everyone's trying to fucking ruin everything. And
anyways, so you heard in the statement there that he's looked back and he saw some interviews of himself where he kind of regrets what he said and he's trying not to let the business bring him down and yada yada. But I'm gonna turn it over to you, Trill Dollar Bill. What's your reaction to Eddie Hearn's comments, the whole backlash and everything?
Just a little bit of disconnect. I think when I seen the interview, I think he realized when he said not articulate, he tried to cover that up real fast. He realized he said something, he misspoke, used the wrong word. I get what he was trying to say. Eddie's been, it's just a bit of a disconnect. He's from across the pond, I guess, and he probably doesn't understand things that African Americans have endured over here. The pain and the insults, and so I think it's a little bit of disconnect. Like, he made a comment before about how, all they, I know what they want. They want, chains and shiny things and diamonds and necklaces, and cars. He's like, I know what they want, Eddie. You don't know what they want. I think it's a little bit of disconnect. I have seen the change in Eddie as well. I think the sport has did it to him, Eddie is not the same. Eddie is just not the same guy. He does seem a little bitter, and he realizes that it's not the same Eddie when we gave him promoter of the year. This is a different Eddie. And those comments were hurtful, but I just don't think he gets it. I think he is disconnected to the black athletes of over here. He just doesn't, he doesn't get the struggle. That's what I believe.
All right. Near the TBE, are you with us? He is not with us. So I'll jump in real quick. It never ceased to amaze me how much venom I get when I speak on Eddie Hearn, as if I come from a place of hatred instead of speaking on logic and what I've actually witnessed. So you heard from Eddie Hearn's own mouth acknowledging the things that I've been saying. to the point where he's saying he doesn't blame Bob Arum and he doesn't blame Frank Warren, and that the nature of the business can get you down and make you a certain way. And he doesn't like the way he's looked in some of his old interviews. What have I been saying to you? But I'm a hater, right? So now that Eddie Hearn has acknowledged it, why don't you write that you're a hater and that you're a fanboy for Eddie Hearn, the person who's actually doing this, acknowledges that he doesn't like what he's seen last year in some of his interviews, and acknowledges that the sport has changed who he is as a person, and he wants to get back to being the person that he used to be. So if the source himself is acknowledging it, what can you fanboys say?
You know, I don't mean to jump in on you, bro. I see
All right,
that
bro.
I see you cooking, man. And I just wanted to jump in right here. I just don't get the comment section sometimes. And I was saying it to my bros. I just don't get it sometimes because it's not like we are taking from y'all. You know, it's cool to have a disagreement. Oh, I believe, but when you come in with the insults and somebody's a hater off of something, we're just giving you our opinions. We're not taking anything from y'all. This is the Boxing Bros. We're not like other channels. No knock to them, but we don't take from y'all. That's why we get treated the way we get. That's why our videos get flagged. We don't pay for promotion. We don't do super chats to make y'all give us money so that YouTube gets a percentage, so that they get us subscribers and put us at front when you tune in or go for looking for boxing commentary. We don't do none of that. We just come out here and give you our opinion and just kick it to y'all like you one of us, like you one of our brothers or our sister. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get in the comment section. If we disagree and we don't have the same opinion, that's fine. But it's not like y'all are paying us. You know? You can just click and go to another channel. You don't have to be a disgusting human being just because you fanboying for somebody else and you don't agree with what we're saying. We're just giving you our opinion. Like I said before, now I'll say it again. We're not taking anything from y'all. There have been people in the comment section talking about, oh, y'all should do this, y'all should do that. They give us money to pay. We don't want nothing from y'all. We respect you enough that you're coming here to kick it with us. We appreciate y'all. And we appreciate our community. We have a strong community. Outside of here, you don't understand how the Boxing Bros community, we save lives. We was just talking about that. You know how many times we done got hit up for people telling us like, oh, they lost a loved one, or they're down and out. They was depressed, and they was able to hit us up, and we done talked to them, and we done kicked it. This is different. This Boxing Bros is different. We're not here to hate on nobody. We're just giving you our opinion on what we feel. Like I said, you act like you take that up. Go, y'all can talk all that reckless stuff to the people y'all giving that super chat money to. Because all we doing is, you know what I'm saying, giving our time and our love. You know what I'm saying? This community is real. Boxing Bros is real. And shout out to everybody who showed me love on my 2 years of being alcohol free. I love you guys. You know what I'm saying? This community is bigger than just boxing. We built something beautiful here. I call my brother the evil scientist when he put all these pieces together. You know what I'm saying? Because he created something beautiful, a beautiful monster. And that's the Boxing Bros community. We done met so many wonderful people. You out there. So I want to shout out to the people, the true Boxing Bros community. We love y'all. Because y'all kept us up when we were down. So all the other people that have some, like we have some agenda, we don't have no agenda to no people. When PBC do wrong, then we call them out. We call Wilder out. We call the LBC out. And y'all loved us for it. Eddie does something wrong and we don't like it. We say so we don't like. That's just our opinion. We don't like it. We're not haters. We're lovers of the sport of boxing. We got favorite boxers that we mess with. But at the end of the day, if they mess up, they mess up. We're going to call them out on it. Because at the end of the day, we are fans of boxing, not boxers. Boxing. Sorry, my brother. I just wanted to say that.
Nah, man, that was all well said. And, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head. When all is said and done, right? I have no agenda against Eddie Hearn. In fact, when I was first exposed to Eddie Hearn, it was through the Zone, and I actually liked Eddie, and I thought he was charismatic, and I thought that he had, even if they weren't the best ideas, he was doing it to advance the sport. But as I stated in the last video, I recognize Eddie Hearn becoming more and more like Frank Warren, Bob Arum, and Al Heyman every time I saw him. And then a few days after I said that in the video, he co-signs it. On IFL TV, by the way, subscribe to IFL TV. And he co-signs what I said. So all of you people who were quick to hit your little keyboards and disrespect me, what do you say now that the man himself acknowledges he was doing exactly what I said, acknowledges his mindset was exactly what I said? Am I still a hater? How many times have I predicted something before it actually happened and y'all call me a hater and then it goes down the same way that I said it would? It's because I'm not making and I am not saying something based on emotion. I am simply looking at it from an objective standpoint and giving my input based on my knowledge of the sport, the objective facts, and just putting it out there. So with that being said, I'm glad that Eddie realizes that he is letting the business of boxing make him a bitter person and that he needs to get back to being that guy who just had love for the game. But his comments about Gervonta Tank Davis don't help him. So I get you can try to say that he didn't mean it that way. But here's the thing. There's intent versus impact. And you can't tell the people who were impacted by his statement how they should feel, particularly if you're not a part of that community, right? So I'll give you an example. Kanye West makes a statement, an anti-Semitic statement. The Jewish community is upset. Kanye West can't tell them how to feel. I can't come out here and be like, well, I feel Kanye. It doesn't matter. I'm not a part of the community that was impacted by his statement. A man does something misogynistic or makes a sexist comment, and I can't come out here and be like, well, I think this is what he meant. It doesn't matter. I'm not a part of the community that was impacted by his statement. There were a lot of people who took issue with what Eddie Hearn had to say. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not his statement was racist. It doesn't matter to me, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter to me. His statement was unnecessary. That's what I know. He didn't need to say that Tank wasn't a deep thinker, and he didn't need to say that Tank wasn't articulate. Articulate is about how you speak, how well you relay information verbally. In a fight, they're using their fists. So what does Tank not being articulate have to do with him versus Ryan Garcia? Like he tried to say in that tweet. You don't need to be articulate to knock people out. In fact, there is that stereotype that Stephen Espinoza was listening to that goes back to the big black Mandingo days of slavery, where the big, muscular, unintelligent guy will pound you. You know, the strong rule the weak, but the wise, the slave master, rules the strong. There is that perception out there. And when he goes out of his way to say Tank is not a deep thinker and he's not articulate, that's what got him in trouble. If he would have said Tank isn't the type of fighter who is technical and is going to try to set you up and set traps, he's just going to go in there and go straight for the knockout, and that's what makes him dangerous, no one would be upset. It's the words that he chose to use to describe Gervonta Tank Davis that made people upset. He's not a deep thinker. He is not articulate. And if you don't understand, and again, you have to be from America to understand this. When you're from America and you're a black person in white spaces, it just brings me to something else. If you've never been the only person of your race in a room, then you need to shut the hell up. Because you see my wall. You see my wall. Let me tell you something. I've been the only person of color in classrooms of 400 people in college. Everyone else in the room's white. I'm the only black person. And they'll say, oh, he's articulate. Saying I'm articulate implies that black people normally are not. Right? Or you're not accustomed to meeting someone who looks like me who can express themselves verbally. Right? So why highlight that I'm articulate? Why do that? In doing that, you're disrespecting my entire race. So that's one thing. Oh, he speaks so well. Are you the acceptable Negro, the decent Negro? Right? Come on, man. Like, that's what upsets someone like Leonard Ellaby. That's what upsets someone like Stephen Espinoza. Now, I'm not saying that that's what Eddie Hearn meant, because I don't know his intent, but the impact for people like me, who's been the only black face in a room of over 300 white people who were all judging me. What you don't understand is when you're the only black person in a room full of a bunch of white people, you stand out. You could be late, no one knows. When you're white and you just one of 300, every time I'm late to class, people know. If I'm late to class, they say, oh, look at him, he's lazy, he doesn't respect time, whatever. Anything I do is under the microscope because I stick out like a sore thumb. The other point that I'm trying to make to you is when you deal with that, you notice certain things people say to describe you. Because if they say I'm lazy and I say, well, why am I lazy? You were late to class 3 times this week. Oh, really? Well, I was just so happy that I was keeping note and I realized that Timmy was late to class 4 times this week. Oh, but you didn't notice that, right? Because he blends in. Sarah was late to class 5 times this week, but you didn't notice that because she blends in, right? But I stick out, so I'm late 3 times and I'm lazy. How many white fighters are there out there who speak just like Gervonta Tank Davis? A bunch. Every white fighter's articulate. You want to tell me that? Every white fighter's a deep thinker? I would never, ever get on this platform and talk about a boxer and say, well, he's not a deep thinker and he's not articulate. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Which brings me to the last point. I don't care whether or not you're someone who thinks it's racist. Again, intent versus impact, right? And what was Gervonta Davis' response to that? I was a deep enough thinker and articulate enough not to sign with you. How would you feel if you heard your boss saying that to someone and you were a fighter?
If not only if you was a fighter, if you was just a regular employee.
I'm saying this because this is where you talked about the disconnect between Eddie Hearn and the Black American athlete. That's the connection I'm trying to make right now. Eddie Hearn can't connect with the Black American athlete because he does stuff like this. You said that to Gervonta Tank Davis, and you think that the Black athletes in America aren't watching that, and you think they're not impacted by that. So all of you who don't think that it's racist, or all of you who want to defend Eddie Hearn, you're irrelevant, because when Eddie Hearn comes to the States and he tries to sign a fighter, they're all looking at him like a clown. That's what I've been trying to tell y'all. He does all these things in these interviews that negatively impact his ability to be successful in America. That's all I've been trying to tell you. Him saying what he said about Gervonta Tank Davis, a dude who is well liked in America. Look at Tank Davis fight. You saw all the celebrities there, bro. You saw everyone there. You saw Meek acting a fool there. You saw people come out for Tank. He just said that about Tank. Now, if you're a young fighter, who doesn't consider yourself to be articulate, would you want to sign with Eddie Hearn, knowing how he feels? If you're a young fighter who doesn't perceive yourself to be a deep thinker, would you want to sign with Eddie Hearn? Then he says Mike Tyson is not a deep thinker. I would disagree with that. I would disagree. I would also say I think Mike Tyson is articulate. But then you go to another level of this. Being articulate is about education. Access to education. And then you're being insensitive to their situation and where they come from. Everybody don't have a rich daddy. And that's what Leonard Ellerbe was getting at. Take Gervonta Davis and put him in the same situation as Eddie Hearn, where he's born to a rich father, and take Eddie Hearn and put him in the streets of Baltimore.
Let's see. Drug addicted mother.
Yep. Let's see how articulate Eddie Hearn would be then. You understand? This is what they say, and this is what I live by. You never judge a person by where they're at because you don't know how far they've come. Okay? And Tank has made a success of himself without daddy's money to fall back on. Oh, I can hear them now. He's hating on Eddie Hearn. I am not hating on Eddie Hearn. I'm protecting Gervonta Tank Davis as someone who comes from that same background, someone who was raised in foster homes, shelters, someone who went to inferior high schools, got a GED, went to community college, then got into one of the top 50 universities in the nation, then went to law school, then became a lawyer. So y'all can't tell me nothing. You can't. Nothing you say to me can bother me because I made it in a world where I'm considered bait because of people who underestimate me. The same way Tank was being underestimated. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, whether or not you think Eddie Hearn's comments were racist, they were unnecessary and rude. And you cannot attempt to recruit athletes being that way. You can't. And I'm just trying to tell you, being a member of the community that was disrespected matters. You can't see certain things if you're not a part of that community. And what I can tell you is what he said about Gervonta Tank Davis negatively impacted his ability to recruit the Black American boxer. And what good is that for his bottom line? If you can't come into the United States of America and recruit the top Black American talent, either you don't value them, so that's why you would say something like that, because you don't value the Black American talent, or you're too stupid to realize that what you said wasn't smart. So how deep of a thinker is Eddie Hearn really? When you have to backtrack and explain your comments, and then you have to say you're not, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, Eddie, perhaps you're not as deep a thinker as you think you are. And all these videos of your contradictions that go around the internet show you're not as articulate as you think you are as well. And even you acknowledge that. Said, I look at some of my interviews and I think, maybe you're not as articulate as you think you are, Eddie Hearn. I'm just saying, man, sitting there judging people. And lastly, I'm going to close with this, and then TBE, you can go. I noticed there's only a select group of people who judge other people's intellect. I'm not going to dive into who they are, but there's only a certain group of people who sit back and judge another group of people's intellect. Like, oh, the way he reads this, the way they say this, the way they do that. Who cares, bro? How many languages do you speak? Because it's easy to master one language. How many languages do you speak? How many cultures are you familiar with? How many worlds can you survive in? How many rooms can you survive in, really? Right? Can you survive in a room full of people who look nothing like you, who are not tied to your culture, who don't like when you speak funny to them, when the way you speak is funny to them. You understand what I'm saying to you? I just noticed that there's a certain group of people who always want to judge intellect. And why is Tank not a deep thinker, not articulate, but some of these other fighters that I've seen grab the mic who aren't very articulate and don't speak very well? And I'm not going to name any, ethnicities and none of that, but I'm just saying they exist and I see them all the time when I watch some of Eddie Hearn's cards. But he's never made those comments about them. It's a very arrogant position to sit there and judge intellect, to judge someone's intellect, to judge whether someone is that's a very arrogant thing to do. It's a very arrogant thing to do. But I'm glad that they do it because I whoop their ass in the courtroom every single time. So with that being said, TBE, what's your reaction to all that stuff?
Man, I want to say I agree with everything my co-host said about this issue right here. And Eddie, 100% wrong. You saying Gervonta is not a deep thinker and he's not articulate, but you weren't even a deep thinker when you were making these statements. And now you're caught on camera. Your stock is from all your interviews till now, your stock has been plummeting. You have been saying a lot of things that you shouldn't be saying. And honestly, I don't think at this moment he can't. He probably need like 2-3 years before he could even look. Black fighter would even entertain an opportunity from Eddie Hearn because in the United States, because this is not going to go away anytime soon. And you were one man at one point. Yeah, you try to give Tank his praise, but it was a backhanded. This compliment, a compliment was backhanded from the utmost degree, and I don't agree with it at all. Like Eddie used to be a fan, but this is disgusting. I know you try to clear it up with Gervonta in DMs. You see he's bothered by this. Clearly, a lot of people are bothered by this. Clearly, we are bothered by this because this is stuff we deal with every day. Like we go into places and people view us and think have these prejudiced mindsets where they don't even know us and they assume that we act like this, talk like this, and walk a certain way. And this, you just showed it yourself. So Eddie, it's disgusting behavior. You need to clean up your act, honestly, and you need to apologize to Gervonta for the comments you made.
Let me just get in here.
I know what it was. Eddie's girlfriend was like, "Oh, he's kind of cute."
That's what they look. Here's what I would say is this. This is what strikes me as absolutely hilarious. Check this out. Ned the TBE is my brother. I've been there for Ned. G's been there for Ned, like on brother stuff, like in real life stuff, right? We do the show. If Ned messes up and loses his train of thought or fumbles on words, we'll joke around with Ned. And some of y'all get pissed off. Some of y'all come to the comment section and say, we teasing our own brother. Mad. This dude, Eddie Hearn, says what he says about Gervonta Tank Davis, someone who isn't even his brother, someone he hasn't even been there for. Goes out of his way to say that Tank is a deep thinker and that Tank is inarticulate. For all the jokes we crack on Ned, we know Ned's a deep thinker. We know that Ned is articulate. We tell Ned when the camera is off, Ned, that was a great point. You just got to deliver it in a different. We tell Ned this stuff all the time. We never come here and bash Ned, but y'all get mad about that. Eddie does something 1,000 times worse. He tells the world that Tank isn't a deep thinker and is not articulate, and y'all make excuses for him. Now, I just want to know, why does Eddie get that pass? I just want to know why. And then on a platform, like Trill pointed out, that you watch for free, we don't ask you for a dime of your money. We don't get nothing from you. We don't even get likes or dislikes from you. You don't even care enough to respond to the video. You care enough to keep coming back and keep watching, though. You care enough to keep writing in the comment section that Caden's a hater, though. But you don't really support. Like 70% of y'all don't even subscribe. We see the numbers. You come watch, you don't subscribe, whatever. And you're more mad about me joking with my brother than what Eddie Hearn said about a fighter he doesn't promote. That's none of his business. And it's okay. What is it about you? Because the problem's not me. That's all I'm saying.
Let us know how you're hating. No, I mean, let us know how you're feeling in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. You know who you're rocking with. You see me glowing. It's the Boxing Bros, baby.